Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Once again, farmers are back on the streets protesting, breaking barricades as thousands of them head towards the national capital. But this current stir is a little bit different from the 2020-2021 edition when the massive showdown led to the withdrawal of 3 farm laws. Not all same bodies have come together this time around. How much of the intensity will be the same remains to be seen. Now, more than 200 farmer unions are heading to Delhi after the last round of talks between the 4 farmer leaders and union ministers remained inconclusive on Monday night. Union Agricultural Minister Arjun Munda has maintained that a consensus was reached on most of the issues raised by the farmers, and the government proposed to form a committee to address the rest of the issues as well. The unions protesting have made their intentions very clear. They will lay siege to Delhi until all their demands are met. Now, some of those demands itself have come under scanner. Many experts feel that they are unsustainable to say the least, or even whimsical at worst. So, is there more than meets the eye when it comes to this farm protest 2.0? Can all of their demands even be met? Should these demands be met? Also importantly, can some compromise be achieved so that we don't see a repeat of what we witnessed a couple of years ago? We'll take that question to our guests in just a bit. But let me break down some of the demands that have come under question, and many are asking if these demands are justified at all. So a snapshot of some of the demands that the farmers have made. One of those demands is that there should be a monthly pension of 10,000 rupees for all farmers or farm laborers above the age of 58 years. Now, this is a demand that has caught a lot of people's eye as absolutely unreasonable. Farmers are also demanding crop insurance for all farm units, but they're insisting the government must pay the premium for those crop insurances. One of their demands is India's withdrawal from World Trade Organization and even the freezing of all trade pacts. Now, this is not something a country can do, and should it do is also a question. Farmers are also demanding complete debt waiver. This is not new. This is something that keeps coming up as far as farmers are concerned, and they're demanding this for all farmers and all farm-related laborers this time around. Waiver of all kinds, of all types. Now, this would add, of course, to the burden to the state exchequer along with all the other demands that they're making. Finally, one of the demands is that instead of 100, there should be 200 days of work under Manrega and 700 rupees compensation for agricultural work that should be added under the purview of this employment scheme. Apart from this, the very question of the MSP law, an MSP guarantee for all agricultural produce that farmers are asking for, is a matter of grave debate. Is such a law even prudent fiscally or doable? Now, providing MSP guarantee purchase for the current lot of 24 crops, not all farm produce, 24 crops under MSP purview will itself cost 10 lakh crore rupees annually. The total budget expenditure outlay for India is 45 lakh crore as it currently stands. So an MSP for just 24 crops will be 22% of the nation's entire spending power. Can any government agree to something like this, or should there be a middle way that should be agreed upon? I do want to talk about that middle way, and why is it that these farm protests are slightly different to the ones we have seen in the past, because after the farm laws agitation, not many of those farm unions are now supporting this protest, possibly because of these demands. Take a look at who is spearheading this protest. So this is being done under the aegis of the Sanyukt Kisan Morcha. This Kisan Morcha, non-political, is the one which split from the SKM after the last farm agitation. This faction is now largely run by 2 main groups, BKU Dalewal led by Jagjit Singh Dalewal and Kisan Mazdoor Morcha led by Sarwan Singh Pandey. So these are the individuals that are leading the current protest and the Delhi Chalo march. Missing in action are these. Some of those who were the leading faces of the farm laws agitation. For example, BKU Rakesh Tiket, face of those protests against the 3 farm laws. at least in the national capital region, is staying away. BKU Charuni, another prominent farm union, which is staying away, and BKU Ekta Ugrahan, Punjab's biggest farmer union, is also staying away from these protests. One wonders why. Now, let me warn you, if you thought that these protests were a day-long affair, for example, the kinds we witnessed on the UP borders with Delhi a couple of days ago, then that is not the case. Today is just a start, and these protests will continue unless a breakthrough is achieved, and possibly things could get worse tomorrow than today, because today the national capital was fairly unaffected, but there were some traffic-related issues. So this is how it stands as we speak. There is the Singhu border, Ghazipur border and Tikri border. These are hot and these are right at Delhi's edge. But actually a lot of the action is taking place at the Shambhu border right now, which is Haryana-Punjab border, and the Kanori border in Haryana and Punjab. That is where a lot of the traffic is currently. Today it was at Shambhu border that majority of the action took place, where Haryana police or Haryana administration is trying largely to restrict these farmers with their tractors, etc., from marching into the capital. Now, the question I want to ask is simply this. Given everything that is happening, given the demands that have come to light, can a compromise be reached? And will the farm unions also have to relent a little bit to get this compromise achieved? First up, take a look at the highlights from the day.
Farmers are some way or the other initially able to break through concrete walls that have been placed up. They are able to get through the nails that have been put on the ground. The last resort for the Delhi police is going to be using these oils which will be spilled on the roads, so that the viscosity would make sure that the friction between the road and the tires of the tractors actually comes down, and it is going to be difficult for them to actually cross this path.
सरकार बातचीत करके जो सरकार ने किसानों से समझौता किया था, उन बातों की मांगों को जो है सरकार बातचीत के जरिए समाधान करने का काम करे। सर किसान अपने MSP की जो मांग है वो जायज़ मांग है, उनसे बैठ के शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से समझौता किया जाए।
कुछ इस तरह के तत्व जो निजी स्वार्थ को लेकर या देश में इस तरह की स्थिति पैदा करने के लिए किसानों को इससे सावधान रहते हुए इससे बचना चाहिए, और दिल्ली आने के लिए जो उकसा रहे हैं उससे दूर रहना चाहिए।
Tikri border right now, that is the Delhi Jhajjar border area, and right now you can see the kind of barricades that have been placed here. They are all with concertina wires have been placed atop them, so that even if the protesters they abandon their vehicles and try to cross over into Delhi manually, they can't cross over these barricades. Other than that, containers are here to completely block the road when the farmers and their vehicles are here.
Many of the big vehicles, many of the big machineries are also being used to put a barricade as far as the prevention of the farmers are concerned in entering inside the national capital Delhi.
धारा 144 लगी हुई है, और समूह में आना, वेपन लाना और किसी भी तरीके की न्यूसेंस क्रिएट करना पूरी तरीके से बैन है, प्रतिबंधित है। तो उसके मद्देनज़र हमने यहाँ पर अरेंजमेंट लगा रखा है।
Let's go across to the guests who are joining us. Tushar Gupta is political analyst with us. Ikram Singh Sandhu, spokesperson of the Congress Party. Mohini Mohan Mishra is All India General Secretary from the Bharatiya Kisan Sangh. And Nachiket Udupa is member of the Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan, all joining us. And I do thank you all for your time. Nachiket, let me begin with you. Some questions are arising on the demands that have been put forth by the farm unions this time around. 14 to 15 demands. And some of them are just seeming a little bit outlandish. For example, asking 10,000 rupee pension for every farmer, every farm labourer above 58 years of age, wanting India to get out of WTO, and scrap all free trade agreements. Is this fair to put forth these demands by these unions?
See, these demands are a symptom of the underlying problem, which is the fact that the economic structure right now is extremely lopsided. It is not remunerative to be a farmer. The pensions that the central government gives right now is rupees 200 a month. On rupees 200 a month, who can survive? So basically, whether it is free trade agreements or WTO, because that is one of the barriers to getting MSP, or the MSP demand itself, all of them are stemming from the fact that agriculture is not a remunerative profession and there is a need to make the profession remunerative. So this is the underlying cause, and all the demands are arising out of this fact.
No, for remuneration, I can understand you're asking for MSP. You may even ask for something like crop insurance to mitigate certain risks involved. But here also, for example, when these unions ask for crop insurance, they're saying all farm units should get crop insurance, but the government should pay the premium. Now, where does that happen? Government's job is to provide crop insurance at very marginal rates, right? Subsidized rates, which is already happening in some cases. And remuneration is one thing. So you stick to your MSP demand. I'll come to that in just a bit, and I get that. But you can't ask for everything else under the sun too.
The problem with the crop insurance is that the way that the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana is operating right now, the fact of the matter is that premiums are being taken from farmers, but farmers are not getting compensation. So as things currently stand, the people who are making money in the current system are the insurance companies, and genuine farmers who are facing crop loss due to increasing climate change are not getting compensation when their crops are damaged.
Tushar wanted to come in here. Tushar, very quickly.
I have to fact check this gentleman before me who says that the claims are not being processed. For the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, claims have been settled for rupees 150,000 crore, and the premium that the government collected was rupees 30,000 crore. For every 1 rupees of premium, the government has actually settled claims of 5 rupees. So anyone saying that the government is not settling claims in the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, which is exactly the kind of yojana with low premium that the farmers need, is actually lying. Number two, he talks about climate change. If you're very serious about climate change, you need to understand that there is a serious problem of groundwater depletion in Punjab. The blocks in groundwater in Punjab are more depleted than even Rajasthan. The farmers need technology. The farmers need private sector support. Going on the roads, behaving like goons is not going to solve their case. Number three, the fiscal point of view. Shivani, to put it very simply for the viewers of CNN, for every rupees 5 the government spends, farmers are saying spend rupee 1 on us alone. And these are the Punjab farmers, not the farmers of the country. MSP benefits only 6 to 7% of the farmers, just that the majority of them come from Punjab. So they think that they're deserving of rupees 10 lakh crore worth of MSP. That's not going to work. That's fiscally impossible.
I'll come to the question of MSP in just a bit. Yes. Nachiketa, very quickly, you wanted to respond, then I'll go to Ikram Singh as well.
Yeah, on the question of MSP, the farmers are not saying that the government should buy all the crop. There has been a minimum wage act in place since 1948.
That's what the demand document says. I'm sorry, that's what the demand document says. I'll read it out to you if you want. That's what your demand document says.
Let me clarify. Let me finish. I didn't interrupt you. Let me finish.
No, but you're lying. You're lying. I'm sorry, you're lying. That's what your demand document
says. Let him finish, then I'll come back to you, Tushar.
The demand for an MSP is the fact that whenever any purchase is made, the purchase should be above a certain minimum price. That purchase can be by the government, the purchase can be by a trader, it can be a private purchase or a public purchase, government purchase. But it should be above a certain price. That is the demand. That doesn't mean that the government has to buy all the produce.
Okay.
Hold on, let me read out the first line. The first line.
Tushar.
Shivani of the Kisan Mazdoor Morcha demands
MSP
guarantee law should be made at purchase of all crops. That is what the text says. Price of all crops should be given as
per by the government. It doesn't say by the government.
So who will give? Private people? Now, do you want people to give you the MSP? If not the government, who are you making the demand against? People will pay you from their pockets. Me and Shivani will give you the MSP. What are you talking about, sir? You are saying in your demand document the first... Hold on. You want private people to pay you MSP. You want citizens of the country, tax-paying professionals to pay you MSP. Why, sir?
Yes.
Why should a person
this is just like the minimum wage act.
MSP? No, why
May
should
I
the
answer your
people pay?
question?
Let
May
him
I
answer,
answer
let
your
him answer.
question?
No, Shivani is actually saying people of India should pay the farmers of Punjab in
No,
MSP.
I
Why
think
would
there is
that
a
happen?
fundamental problem with that demand. I'll come to that. I will discuss MSP in more detail. But yes, Nachiket, very quickly, is it fair
There is
to expect the government to force private buyers to also pay a certain price? There is a market, there's a market rule that applies.
there is a minimum wage act which has been enacted in 1948 that says that anybody employing someone else has to pay above a certain rate, which is the minimum wage. Now, even if a private person is employing anyone else, they have to pay above minimum wage. This is a similar concept that if any private trader is also buying from a farmer, they have to pay above certain minimum price. I don't see why this is so difficult to
But
understand
for
in the
all
labor.
crops,
In
okay,
the
let me
labor,
come to the
yes.
nitty-gritty of the MSP law that is being demanded. I'm running some figures. If all crops were to be given MSP, our outlay is going to be 40 lakh crores. Is that even feasible?
Right now, if all laborers are paid above minimum wage by the government, that will also come to a similar figure. But it works because the government is not the only party paying that. Anybody employing anyone has to pay above minimum wage. So it's a similar analogy here. All those who are
क्या बोल
buying
रहे
any
हैं?
produce from a farmer have to pay above a certain minimum price. That doesn't mean
So
this 40 lakh crore is going from the
Shivani, if I'm
government. It
understanding
is
right,
being paid by the citizens and the government.
Yeah, so what happens? Okay, there are more problems that arise out of it. But Tushar, very quickly, two of our guests are waiting. 30 seconds only.
Shivani, the most outrageous thing that I've heard in the last 30 seconds is he's not only expecting the government to pay up, he's actually expecting citizens to pay up. Maybe they want the citizens to be taxed more. Maybe there needs to be a says this is nothing but entitlement. The farmers of a few pockets of this country are behaving entitled. That is not their
I
right.
think it is important to establish this is not a pan-India farmer union demand. In fact, outside of Punjab and maybe pockets of Haryana, there's barely any resonance. But this whole, modus operandi of gherawing the national capital and ensuring that it is, all headline worthy is making it seem like all farmers in the country have exactly these demands. We have to accept that is not the case. Predominantly from Punjab, these demands are coming in. And some of the impacts of this MSP law and guarantee you're asking for, Nachiket, one will lead to high inflation. The prices are going to rise for everybody. The government cannot do that. It has to balance it out. It will be unprofitable for private players to indulge in any kind of purchase if it continues like this. There are obviously, a certain set of crops that are more beneficial already that has created a very lopsided field, plain as far as land and water use is concerned already. Farmers don't want any liability for pollution. They don't want any liability for sustainability. In many countries, these benefits are linked to environmental norms, which are mandatory. What are farmers in India asking for? We are not going to be held liable for parali burning. We don't want electricity reforms in the country. We want free electricity, free water. We're not going to care about the water table. We're going to have our own preferences of what we grow for our own reasons. And then we want prices to be according to us as well. Not all of that can go together. Ikram Sandhu, I want to come to you before I go across to Mohini as well of what can be the middle path. Do you accept, Ikram, that not all of these demands are feasible, not all of these demands can be met? Some of them are going to completely take over all of the budgeted expenditure outlay the country has.
Good evening to all, There are just two pertinent questions that we should be discussing here. Why are the farmers back on the street and how's the government reacting to it? Now, Mr. Tushar was very sanctimonious that goons are running amok. Mr. Tushar, just do farming for 1 year and you will understand what farming is all about. People who have never picked up a sickle in their life will talk like this. I'll tell you what a farmer does.
When the farmers pay tax for a year and do farming for a year.
I did not interrupt you. You said all you wanted to say. Now listen to what I have to say. You called my community a goon. You are a goon if you don't understand what farmers do. So don't be sanctimonious about it.
They are vandalizing the flyovers. Are they not? No, are they vandalizing the flyovers?
You put the farmers under the income tax.
Are they vandalizing the flyovers or not?
I'll tell you. What is the slab?
There are videos of them vandalizing public property.
Tell me what is the slab?
There are videos of
don't have to pay income tax. You don't have to pay income tax till 5 lakh. I can give you an
Are
assurance
you
that
going to talk about the income
95% of the
tax? Do
farmers
you
do
want to
not come
talk
under
about the
that.
income tax of
So do
Artias?
not give all
Do you
this
want to talk
gyan
about
to
the
us.
income tax
Okay,
of
one by
I
Artias?
will
one.
outshout
Let's be
you.
fair to
No,
everybody. Let's go one by one.
And
Ikram
this
Sandhu.
guy
no, no.
spoke for ad
Ikram,
nauseum. I did
Ikram,
not interrupt him.
Ikram,
I
can
have
I
just
just say?
started and he
Okay,
has
okay.
started on his speech.
No,
It is
I'm
not
going to
done.
give you fair enough time. But you've raised
Yes.
this point that people are unhappy with the way, or they're using certain labels for how farmer unions are behaving. But some of the actions we've seen is crossing a
What?
line. No
They are
ordinary
not crossing.
citizen is going to be in support of vandalism of public and private property, as we have seen in the past, as we are witnessing in spurts today. I don't know what happens in the latest round. It's a problem. It cannot be condoned.
Shivani ji, just listen to me.
Yes.
Today I was in Patiala, I went to Fatehgarh Sahib, I was in Rajpura, I was in Banur, my land is in Banur. Ask anybody this side of the border in Punjab how the farmers are behaving. They are going in one line. The tractors, their two-wheelers are going in one line. The other two lines are
Why
totally
are they
free
bringing
for...
tractors? Can I ask you a very fundamental question? Is it feasible for so many tractors to get into the national capital? Is
I'll
it fair?
give you an example. I'll give you an example. This is the kind of dictatorial times that we live in. I'll take you back to 1988 when the first Delhi Chalo started under MS Takayat. The farmers came, they came with their tractors and they parked themselves in boat club. Rajiv Gandhi ji was the prime minister of this country. No nails were put in the ground, no water cannons were fired, no tear gas was
I
fired.
can't compare
They
what
sat
happened in
there.
1988 to 2024.
I'm telling you what happened in 1988. Just Google
A lot
it
of
and it
things
will
happened
tell
in
you.
1988.
And
A lot of things happened in
just
1975.
listen to me. You don't have to be sympathetic to this government. Just listen to
No,
what I have
I'm
to say.
sympathetic to the public in the national
The
capital. They
public
also
doesn't
have
mind. The
certain
public is with
rights.
the farmers. If you
I am the
ask
public.
me,
I mind it. I am the public. I mind
people
it.
like you might not be, but 70% of this country is still agricultural in its outlook, and another 25% are with them. 5% who are not with
No
that
one is with the
farmers, I
farmers.
leave it to their
Okay,
own
I
wisdom.
asked you a question about the demands. Can you come to that?
I'm answering it.
Yeah.
An agreement was signed and the farmers went back. For 32 years, the farmers did not have to do a Delhi Chalo. Why is it that in Mr. Modi's time, twice in 3 years, the farmers are coming back? And why are they coming back? Because in 2021, he gave them a guarantee. I'll look into MSP, I'll look into MS Swaminathan Commission, I'll look into farm waiver, I'll see to it that the culprits of Lakhimpur Kheri get exemplary punishment. What has happened? 27 months have passed. Not a pen has moved on any
Okay,
on this.
fair enough. Let
What
me
do the
take that to
farmers do?
Mohini.
They
One
do
second.
what the
Ikramji,
constitution and the-
I'll take that point because I think that's a fair point. Some of these demands that have resurfaced were already agreed upon. So why is it that we're still going back and forth? Mohini Mohan, you want to respond to that? Has the government also managed this poorly?
No, it is the government to respond. I am nobody to respond to the government, but I am trying to take the discussion to a different level. When we are talking about MSP, why MSP? Minimum support price. And minimum support price cannot cover the different land values. The labor charges are from 200 to 800 in different part of the country. And the fertilizer, somebody are using heavy using and some farmers are not using even fertilizers. Seed cost is different in own seeds, farmer seed and government seed and company seed. So these are can be covered with their maximum retail price issue. I don't know why we are talking about MSP. And the second thing, what somebody told here, only 10%, less than 10% farmers are benefited by this MSP issue. Small farmers, more than 83% in our country, they are not sending in the mandis. They are not benefited by the MSP. So the farmers' issue are much more than we are discussing here. 24 crops. What do you mean by 24 crops? There are thousands of crops we are cultivating in our country. 127 agroclimatic zones in our country. Different crops we are cultivating. And what for us? And
No, but that's why I'm asking a question. So do you agree?
Farmers of India.
Do you agree with the demands that the current unions are making?
No, you see, you talk that farmers of India, not farmers of India, some farmers of Punjab. This has to be underlined. And this should be strictly underlined. This and all agitation should not be called as a farmers agitation. By
Correct.
these activities, whenever we are going throughout the country for raising the issue of the farmers, we are facing the same question. अरे अब वही वाला नहीं है ना, ऐसा नहीं करेंगे ना. So farmers agitation has been blamed by this type of agitation. Farmers, they have many issues, complex issues, and that are to be addressed. And government also should take this cognizance. That only farmers is not from Punjab. Throughout the country, many crops, more than 1,000 crops, I can list before you. Thousands of crops we are cultivating.
Yes.
All farmers are taken into the consideration. Then only we'll talk about all this MSP.
No,
or MRP.
absolutely. And the
That is the
government has
main
released
issue.
a data which suggests if you were to do it for all farm produce or agricultural produce, which will include a lot more products than the crops alone, that budget is going to require virtually all of our expenditure budget, 40 lakh crores a year. It's just not feasible.
Shivani.
And why should it only be given to crops of a certain kind and not all farm
Precisely.
produce is what the gentleman's point is. It is what the question will arise. That, a government cannot look at the demands, Ikram, of a particular set of farmers within a larger farm community. And this
No,
is
it's
not
not
a pan-India protest. I'm sorry. You may say 75, 95% of people in India agree with it. No.
Shivani ji, it is a pan-India protest when the farmers are protesting.
Bataiye,
and asking for the-
Ikram
Just
ji,
let me
what is
finish. If
happening
you will
in...
not
No,
even give
I'm
me
sorry.
10
You can't just say that and get away with it. Pan-India protest. What is
I am
happening
not
in
getting away
Telangana?
with you.
Telangana
I am
doesn't have
telling-
farmers.
You mean to say that farmers from Karnataka have not been stopped? Farmers from Odisha have not been stopped? Farmers from Telangana have not been
Where
stopped?
have they been
Farmers
stopped?
from Madhya, of course they have been coming in trains, they have been stopped. It's all over the news. Your own channel is carrying it. If you want to turn a blind eye to it, I can't do anything about it. Yes, the farmers of Punjab, the farmers of Haryana and Western UP, because their proximity to Delhi, of course they will be in the forefront. But the demands is not that only give MSP for us. They are asking for everybody.
So how will it happen,
I'll give you an example.
Shivani.
One second, Tushar, one second. Let him speak uninterrupted, then I'll come to you. But how will it happen?
I'll give you an example. I'll give you a corollary. When a soldier fights on the border, you say it's the soldier who is fighting. The country is not fighting. No, the soldier fights for the nation. And if the farmer of Punjab today is fighting, he's fighting for every farmer in this country. He's not fighting for his own self. If he's taking his tractor, he knows his tractor will be damaged. He'll be losing. A police case will be put against him. He'll be languishing in jail. He'll have to go to courts for the next 10 years. But he has that jigra that he'll fight for the other farmers. Rather than appreciating it, you have certain people with that British mentality of divide and rule. Britishers to
Not answering the question I'm asking you. If the demand for MSP was to be implemented for all farm produce, not just crops, for all farm produce, how will the country sustain it? You're not answering me that question.
Mr. Nichiket had answered it pretty well. In 1948,
No.
we have come up with the minimum wages. I can get somebody to do a work for me at 150 rupees, but I have to pay him 500 rupees because it is the minimum wage. That has become the norm. That is the right. Similarly, if you say that this is the price at which everybody has to buy, potatoes
But I'm
are
telling
bought
you
at
the outlay it
2
will
rupees
need.
And 50 grams of potatoes sold in a
But
packet
Ikram,
as
I'm
potato
already
chips at
telling you,
60
I don't
rupees,
have
and
the
that is
outlay
kosher.
of, let's say, all of India's working age population and the minimum age that is required, minimum wage that is required, and what the outlay will be nationally. But I have the outlay of all farm produce. If it was to be guaranteed under MSP, it will be virtually all of India's expenditure budget. Mohini, one second. Mohini ji, you want to come in here as well? Is this a minimum wage concept a comparable concept to minimum support price?
Those experts can compare. We cannot compare as farmers and farmer leaders. We cannot compare. This major issue is, farmers' major issue is in the states, and agriculture is a state subject. We have raised our issue in Bengal, Kolkata, in Bhubaneswar, in Kerala, in Hyderabad. Major issues are lying with the state governments, agriculture is state issue. And the major issue, they say that Chhattisgarh is giving bonus. Why Punjab government is not giving bonus for those people who require it? And the second thing is blocking the roads. And last time the real farmers faced very much problem. Those who are living on farming and selling, they face the problem. Their child is not abroad, they are not getting money from the abroad. So
you're making a
why
very
blocking
serious
the
charge.
roads?
You're making a very
Stop.
serious charge. You're saying funding is coming from overseas
No, this is
to
not
fund these
serious
protests.
charge. This is the issue. This is the issue. The real farmers are facing problems selling their produce in Delhi, coming from Sonipat or adjacent area. And because of this, they are facing problems, and their children are not serving outside because they are living on the agriculture, purely agriculture only. So these are to be addressed.
Okay.
These are the issue.
Mohini ji,
with the
if
farmers.
there was one demand you think would be a fair demand to make for all farmers in India, what is that one demand that government should look at?
The one demand is there should be exploiters should be stopped in the about the seeds and about the market.
Okay.
Within the mandi, outside the mandi. There is a huge expectation about the seeds and in the market, within the mandi and outside the mandi. This has to be stopped immediately.
Okay, Tushar, 30 seconds. There is a problem with some of these demands agreed to but not implemented. The government has also kind of, dilly-dallied on it. They should have been on a war path, just making sure that they can solve all of these issues. Maybe not all of those issues. Clearly, some of them, fiscally, the government doesn't have the room to maneuver. But they needed to seal this. We shouldn't have seen an eruption of this again.
No. Shivani, the motivation for eruption is not agricultural, economical, it's political. But let me give you a number. Between 2007 and 14, the Congress era, 2.58 lakh crore worth of MSP procurement happened for paddy. Between 2014 and 21, 7.43 lakh crore. This is paddy. Between 2007 and 14, 1.99 lakh crore worth of procurement at MSP for wheat. Between the next 7 years, 14 and 21, it's 3.65 lakh crore. So this government has walked the talk when it comes to increasing the MSP of the farmers. Another fact check. Nowhere does the MS Swaminathan Commission report says that the MSP should be guaranteed. It offers a specific formula. It says there should be an increase. There has been an increase, but it nowhere says that it should be guaranteed. Number 3, Nachiket has started the debate by saying we're not asking for all crops. Ikram here says we should do it for all crops. The fiscal suicide these gentlemen are advocating on national television, it's horrendous. And to say that private sector should pay rupees 500 for something that costs rupees 150, so they're essentially asking for food inflation. So if you and I can buy tomatoes for rupees 20 per kilogram, they're asking us to pay 100.
Okay.
If we can buy wheat for rupees
There
6
are
per
obviously
kilogram, they're asking
impacts
us
of
to
it.
pay rupees 50.
Some of the impacts can be cushioned and can be absorbed by the rest of the society. I don't think anybody has an anti-farmer attitude, as some have come to believe. What people have a problem with making demands that are not feasible fiscally. For example, even with the farm laws, many believe they were beneficial fundamentally, right? That agitation that happened, many of it has been promised in political manifestos across the spectrum. But whatever happened, happened. Now, Nachiket, I want to give you the final 20 seconds. Could some compromise be achieved? Because my way or the highway will certainly not work. It is all of our highways. And please spare our highways.
No, the compromise is
for me
simple.
also in the end.
The compromise is simple. What BJP promised in their manifesto, what Congress has promised, what Swaminathan committee has said 15 years ago, what the government said after the previous agitation, just implement MSP. Simple.
So if you find a solution to the MSP issue, will you drop some of the other demands that don't seem to be reasonable?
Like I said, the point is that agriculture is not remunerative. If it is made remunerative, the other problems will go
I'm
by themselves.
almost out of time. I'll give 10 seconds to Ikram. Very quickly, what should the government do?
Yeah, Shivani ji, just one last rebut. In our times of 10 years in UPA, the MSP, I'll just take wheat, went up by 126%. In the 10 years of NDA, now it has gone up by 57%. So that's the pudding that you taste. And number 2, we are not asking for all crops. Even the FAR unions are asking about 11 crops to start with.
Yeah,
which is
but
a very
then why not the
genuine demand.
others? Why should they be left aside? Why should only crops be incentivized, which leads to other issues as far as environment is concerned, is a question we have to ask. We have to have the answers to this before we get into this.
We can start with 11 and then we can work our way forward.
I'll leave it at that. I've run out of time. I do thank...
Do not demonize somebody.
I do thank all of our guests for joining us. We'll see how this goes, if some compromise can be achieved. On the other side, a showdown in Sandesh Khali that is intensifying too. Police and BJP workers clashed in the area as they tried to go to the areas affected and were being stopped as well. State government, is the silence emboldening the atrocities on this? We'll come back with that.